Sweatshirt here. Been a little while since we've had some new content on the channel. Wanted to talk about some upcoming projects. One of those is the Halo Needler. Starting out from this NECA Needler produced around 2015. This is a limited edition prop. Pretty rare, fairly expensive to get at the time, but it's absolutely exact size to a 7-foot Spartan, right from the 343i details. It's lighted, has sound effects and animation, even does the reload, and goes through all again with the firing system. It just begs to be an airsoft gun. So let's take a look at it. So the first thing you notice is that it's got all kinds of screw holes on the right side. The left side's nice and clean, but the right side has all these screw holes. So that's something we're going to want to take a look at. And also you notice that every time I pick it up, move it, or shift it, it creaks. It sounds very plasticky. So it's going to need to be toughened up to be an airsoft gun. That's something we're going to look at when we open it up inside. Previously, we did a plasma pistol conversion. It had the same system. A bunch of screw holes all on the right hand side, and we eliminated all those and replaced them with magnetic couplings or better hidden screw holes to hold it together. We're going to achieve the same thing. Also, the paint here is just purple paint. You've got a hex pattern molded into the top, but it's absent on the bottom where it should also be. That's something we'll eliminate as well, get it corrected. And we're going to use the gun candy system like we did on this plasma pistol that gives a prismatic finish. I think we're going to have something that's really cool when we're done. So let's take a look at the insides. So 36 screws later, we got this out, so it fits over the cylinders that support these two screws, but it's a separate piece, and it's connected to the main power switch, and the battery pack goes in here. But other than that, it's largely hollow. And so this, if we switch to an airsoft battery, retain the main power switch, and maybe go with an HPA system, if we can fit a bottle in here, we can maybe make this separate instead along this line so you have access to the bottle, and make this all one piece so we can eliminate these screw holes, and maybe make this into half a shell so we eliminate the point of the noise and rubbing sounds that we get. So we'll keep going, taking it apart further, moving up here, seeing what we can. We finally loosened all the screws around the bottom of the top shroud, and we're going to expose, we hope, the needle mechanism. We weren't the first to go there. There's an excellent how to repair your needler video out there from the eBay junk channel. There we go. Doesn't look like we're going to go very far with this, but a whole slew of wires. From an airsoft point of view, there's really no point to mess with this section. We'll probably preserve this just as it is, and there's even room underneath it for more. But what does beg is this tiny speaker that's overtaxed and very distorted. We'll have to address that as well. Alright, so the main pistol grip is held by 4 clips up here. We loosened them. We took off the 4 screws here, and that allows us to take off this detail piece. It doesn't have any electronics in it, but it might be a good place to hide the Arduino or the airsoft battery later. Our biggest challenge was to get this cluster of 7 blue lights off. It's been glued on to the 2 halves of the front here, and even with all the screws off, we couldn't get this thing disassembled because this is glued. We're hoping that now that we've separated it from one side, we'll be able to lift off this right side shell and get access to the electronics. But the only way we could get this loose was to actually knock it loose. We used a soft plastic pry bar to break some of the glue joints, but we couldn't break this one. And we wanted to get some force on it without marring it, so we ended up taking a bit of denim cloth, a punch, and a rubber mallet, and just giving it progressively sharper wax until we got the separation of the glue joint. So we'll see how it comes apart now. Now we try to lift off the lower front right shell. It separates over here, and we leave that light cluster in place. Looks like we've met the limit of travel because we got a lot of wire. Oh yeah, a lot of wires in there. Can't believe how expensive this thing was once, because it's just about $4 worth of hot glue is holding the thing together. And that's probably about as far as we're going to get with that. But let's talk about airsofting. So all told, we've got maybe 8 inches from the back of the gun to where BBs would emit here. And so we've looked hard at a lot of options for what we could put in here to make it go. Even an automatic electric pistol gearbox wouldn't give us a lot of power and only give us a couple inches of barrel. Our conclusion is we're probably going to go with an HPA tank down in the lower section, the trigger unit up here. We'll probably opt for the electronic trigger unit, but we'll probably use an Arduino system between the actual trigger switch and the trigger for the HPA system, and that will allow us to modulate the shots and slow down this animation process. It goes through the whole removing all the needles in about 2 seconds when you fire it using the internal electronics. We'd like to slow that down more to game speed so you get a whole magazine's worth of action out of the needles and then require the reset. So we'll integrate an Arduino or a Teensy system into it that'll control the actual shot speed, but we'll regulate it through an electronic HPA trigger, and that'll still give us about the same 6-inch barrel. Be pretty short, be loud, but it'll do the trick. And then the other thing we'll gain from that is that'll still leave us the ability to put in a hop-up tracer unit so that we can shoot at least the red or pink glow BBs to use with this thing. Alright, here's the inside of the central pistol grip. Over here is the reset button for the needles, and this is the trigger mechanism. So long throw, pokey spring system, and it just gets a rocker switch here to actuate it. So we have plenty of room for HPA trigger, for an Arduino in here to control it, and maybe we even talked about having the winding system, having an auto wind mag or auto wind hopper like the Spartan Laser, just powered off of this reset button. We finally reached the brains of the system here, and there's not much, unsurprisingly. So we got this connector right here, connects the lower rear shroud to the area that we're looking to HPA into install the bottle, and then the rest of these go to individual sections. We're going to record them, mark them, and disconnect them so we can handle the individual components and make assessments on how to toughen it up and how to add our airsoft bits. So plenty of room though in here to add airsoft components. Just barely enough room with a little bit of modification to fit a HPA chamber, and plenty of room for a chamber hop up and barrel forward. I bet you didn't think we'd be able to reassemble it again or get it all working, but we did. Here's the reassembled NECA Needler, destined to be an HPA airsoft gun. We were able to even improve the firing LEDs so they're more visible while we had it apart. The NECA Needler, destined to be an HPA airsoft gun, and joining us sometime in the field in the future so we can dual wield it with our plasma pistol. back at the end here just to prove that we were able to put it all back together after taking it all the way apart. Here's the reassembled